The Kings College football team opens the season against Moravian College Thursday at 7 p.m. in MacArthur Stadium, and we are joined by Monarch 8th year head coach Jeff Knarr. Coach, thanks for being with us to start the season.
Thanks for having me again.
Coach, before we talk about this week's game, let's talk about your Monarchs. Last year, the team was 5-5 overall, 5-4 in the MAC in 2016. You have a lot of experience back, so reflect on training camp and how those returning players were able to impact the camp.
Those guys came back in in great shape. They picked up where they left off in the spring. We felt we had a good spring, and they did the work, over the summer. And then they did a really nice job. We have a really good, deep, talented freshman class, and they did a great job integrating them, into the program. And they just set an example by their play and their actions and everything. And the one thing, they realized to go to the next level or to compete to the next level in our conference is we got to take care of the little things. And so they worked really hard this preseason to make sure, they're dotting the I's, crossing the T's, taking care of, the little things. If you do that, then the big things, aren't so big.
Well, Coach, let's take a look at both sides of the ball. Coach, let's talk about the Kings offense. Last year it was the most potent in program history, averaging 415 total yards per game and scoring nearly 30 points each contest. Offensively, the team's led by senior quarterback Zach Whitehead, a returning starter, who set a number of school records. So talk about Zach.
He's, I always believe he goes, your quarterback goes. And he had a tremendous season, and he had that season because he put the work in. I mean, he's always in our office asking questions, studying film. He understands the position of quarterback requires more than just normal. You got to put in the extra time to be the leader on and off the field and to understand our offense, because everything starts with you. So he puts the time and the work in. It was great to see him have that success. He did a great job, I thought, distributing the football, not just focusing on one guy, but kind of reading the defenses and taking what they gave him. And that's what we want to do this year. As you look back and we went over some things that we felt maybe we left on the field. Some things where he needs, if he can recognize, then he can get us into a better play. So it's kind of just working with him to take his game to the next level, and he's all about that. I mean, we can't in his eyes, his plate isn't big enough that we can put on his shoulders and things that he wants to do to continue to lead this football team.
Well, last year he set school records with 244 completions, 2,832 passing yards, and 19 passing touchdowns. But he also rushed for 502 yards and 12 more touchdowns on the ground. So what more can he really do?
Not too much. Just be consistent. And the big thing is not to think he has to, to do everything. He still only has to do his 1/11. He get the plays called, and he has progressions, and he just needs to stay within that. And then if he does, he'll be fine. When he tries to, you can't get 2 completions in 1 attempt. So just stay within himself and continue to grow from there, and then continue to look at things. Again, we're always striving for that perfect game, and that's it. Just showing him, certain times where maybe you held it and you could have ran that time and you ran out of time. So it's all about just being consistency and then seeing what the defense gives us. And we always talk about the quarterback. You're the surgeon, and slice and dice the defense up, and looking just to be able to do more of that. But pretty much, he can play at the same level he did last year and stay within himself, do his 1/11, distribute the ball to our playmakers. He'll be fine, and we'll be fine.
Well, speaking of quality players that are coming back, we have at wide receiver senior Tyler Maroney, who comes off a big year in which the 6'4" senior posted a career-high 53 catches for 749 yards. Fellow senior Marcus Miller also had a career best with 45 receptions for 428 yards. Then we add in a third senior, Corey Flynn, who had 24 receptions for 217 yards. And then we have another senior at H-back, Trey Campbell, who made 15 catches for a 15.1 yards per catch average. That's quite a group of good returning players, but you also have other people coming in who you think are going to contribute as well.
Yeah, yes, we do. And then those guys coming back, at a comfort level, to our pass game, enable us to try to, get them to understand, all the positions, so they can line up wherever and know all the plays from there. So when you have a veteran group, they kind of can operate, on a high level, and we've seen that in preseason from that standpoint. Those guys, worked really hard to have, great junior, campaigns, and looking to build on their senior campaign, from that standpoint. And then, we have 2 new guys in the backfield. One, was a returning player, Jordan Downs, is back with us, and he's put on some weight and strength and got bigger and is running just as fast. He's got great vision, so we're hoping he can do a great job in the backfield. And he's joined there with Titus Nelson, a transfer coming in who's got great size and explosiveness and good speed for his size. And then both are willing to get involved in pass pro and work really hard at that. They've been great with their checkdowns. So hopefully, they can help us with our run game, which we need to be more physical and have more of a consistent run game to complement our prolific passing attack.
Well, the offensive line has some holes to fill, as you only have 2 returning starters in senior center Ronnie Ippolite and also sophomore guard Brian Olson. Talk about the other players who are going to be contributing up front.
The one, Ben McConis, who we affectionately call Bubba. He's probably our smartest offensive lineman, one of our smartest players, and he can play center and guard for us from there. And he's always his strength, is his intelligence. He puts himself in the right position, and he's worked hard, to get stronger. And he's done a good job for us, and he'll get a lot of playing time. Senior John Roush, has kind of been in a reserve role, but he's worked really hard. In the weight room, we get his strength numbers up, and he's been a really vocal leader, in the off season. And then he's doing a great job at tackle for us. From there, and then we have a transfer, Brennan Walsh, whose brother, played for us for a while and just graduated from Kings last year. Brennan transferred in and is going to play tackle for us, and he's done a really good job, and he's brings a physicality to the position that we want, from that standpoint. And then freshman Joe Parker, who we affectionately call Peter, after Spider-Man, but he's come in and he's figuring things out, and he can play multiple positions as well to give some depth. We have some good, young guys in there that, after a couple of JV games, will start, to get into the mix as we think we can, get to where we can play 7, 8, O-line at some point, during this year. But, they're working hard, and we're seeing the physicalness that we need to be able to run the ball, which was a point of emphasis for us this offseason.
Well, looking over on the defensive side of the ball, you have a nice group of experienced players back. First, on the defensive line, you have returning starters in Jacoby Forsman and Chris DiGaetano, while senior Mike Doan and junior Devin Baynard all saw ample playing time last year. Talk about those players, but also who else is going to be contributing up front.
Yeah, on our D-line, truly, if you're in the 2 deep, you're playing on Saturday, because we have to rotate guys, because we are, an attack, pressure type of a defense where we're constantly moving. We know we're going to be undersized. And so our opponents, a lot of guys get a lot of reps. And it's probably our most veteran unit, from there. Jacoby, he just continues to get, better and better. And the thing he worked on was, getting to the quarterback, and his pass rush techniques were much improved from the spring and then preseason. And in Diggs, he's a converted linebacker, and he uses his linebacker technique to stay square and battle in the trenches, even though he's given up some size. And Doney had a great, year last year, and Dev's explosive, off the ball. And then we have a transfer, Joe Damiano, coming in. He's going to be able to get some reps and help us in there. And then Aaron Vascos, he's a senior who's done a really good job, converted linebacker, figuring things off on the edge. And Malcolm Johnson, we get in our nickel and pass rush packages. He's our best guy. No one bends, the edge around a tackle better than MJ, from there. So they're the guys kind of, in the mix for us to play in the D-line.
At linebacker, Kings lost one of its all-time greats and 3-time MAC All-Star Bobby Russell. But there's also a lot of experience back with senior Bruce Damon, who led the MAC with 118 tackles last year, and fellow senior Hassan Maxwell. You also have a quality transfer in Mondo Salavanti and veteran senior Jake Minetti, who's going to be playing a new role this year and moving around in different spots.
Yeah, our linebackers, when we have 4 that, can play in the games. Bruce is an explosive, playmaking, guy. It's always around the ball, and it just, he continues to work with, discipline and not trying to do more than what's asked from him, because he feels he can make every play. Doesn't always need to do that. And then Hassan's been a veteran player with a lot of playing time. He's solid, in there, and with his strength and everything's getting better. Gives us, another quality player. And then with Mondo, transferring from East Stroudsburg, he's again, can run well, hits hard, physical, player, and then he's figuring, our defense out and getting better every day. And then Corey Wilson is the 4th guy. And then, last year, unfortunately, as a freshman, has an ankle early in camp, and that really, puts a freshman kind of way behind, and saw flashes of what he could do. But then since the spring and preseason, he was a highly recruited, linebacker for us, and he's having a great camp. So we're solid, solid there. And then, with our secondary, said Jake's been back there forever, and he does know our defense inside and out, and can get guys lined up. And junior, Justin Foster is a veteran guy at corner, is another senior. So they give us a veteran presence in a backfield that's talented.
Looking at the kicking game now, it's going to be 2 brand new faces this year due to graduation. You're going to have senior Mike Tumanello and freshman Bryce McElhenney competing for the kicking and punting duties. Yeah,
right now, Toomey's going to be the punter. He's done a good job with that and worked on that, and then they're competing for still on the side yet for the PAT field goals. They both will probably get get kicks because right now it's about consistency. With them, some days they'll have a great day striking the ball. Other days they're off or even kick to kick. So we're looking to get more consistency there, and they're working hard on their kickoffs, and they're about equal in those two areas. So we're still figure that out to the 11th hour, which one we'll do that, or we'll split those those duties up from there. But they're working hard and getting better every day with that. And then Toomey's done, like I said, a great job. Also punting, as working on his kicking.
Well, on Thursday, the first ever Thursday night in Kings history, you'll be hosting a non-conference game against Moravian College, a team you are quite familiar with, having opened up against them the past 3 seasons. Well, this is the only non-league game on your schedule this season, and your MAC schedule beginning the following weekend against defending conference champion Stephen. This is a big game for several reasons.
Yeah, I mean, anytime it's the first game, it's been a long time since we played football. So our kids are excited to to get on the field, and then they want their hard work to pay off and come to fruition with a win. So it's a huge that deal, and the challenge for them is to just play them themselves and do their 1/11th, because a lot of times in the first game, a lot of unknowns and different things, and it comes down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. So hopefully our kids can play poised, rely on the veteran experience that we have with the new guys in there, so we can be control and come out on top, and then get ourselves ready, because the MAC schedule, no matter when you get them, it's a tough conference, one of the best in D3, and right off the get-go, we're gonna get the defending champs.
Well, Moravian has graduated a quality quarterback and a quality running back, so they're a little bit of an unknown in terms of those 2 skill positions on offense. They have 3 players at quarterback and have yet to announce who that starter is going to be. But they also did get a solid running back returning from the 2015 season who did not play last year.
Yeah, I think they have like 36 or 40 players from the Lehigh Valley, and being from the Lehigh Valley, we know a little bit about them. So the quarterbacks, which ones they try out there, we know, Cordell. He's a great runner. I mean, he's very athletic and can move around and run. Doug Ernie, played across the street at Liberty. He was a 4-year starter at one of the biggest high schools in Pennsylvania, one of the better programs. So he's a polished kind of kid, from there. And then Redmond's a Parkland guy who did great things for him, in 15 when he was, playing for them. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He was running sweeps for him, running from the tailback position. So I imagine they're going to lean heavily on him, and then develop packages for whatever quarterback they throw out there.
Well, they also have a few good receivers back, and senior wideout Aaron Hudson and 6'6" senior tight end Aaron Brown. Yeah,
I mean, the Hudson, they can get. Last year they were getting, got behind us, and they have guys that can, make plays, jump up and get the ball. The tight end does well. I mean, he's a big boy, but he runs really good routes, finds spaces to get open, and he's hard to bring down. And their passing attack was, in a lot of game last year, operating on all cylinders, as they did a great job. So they got the guys at the other end getting there, and I'm sure that's why they got the 3 quarterbacks listed to try to figure out who can deliver the ball to those guys, because they have some, the tight end and Hudson and a couple other younger receivers that can make plays. For their offense.
Well, the Moravian defense graduated a number of players, so they're a little bit of a unknown commodity as well, but they do have some key returning stands out, led by junior safety Nick Zambelli and junior linebacker Steve Ewald.
Yeah, I mean, Zambelli's been back there, starting as a freshman for him, and I think he's probably going, they're going to rely on him to get guys lined up, and plays a really good, center field and coverage, and comes up and make tackles. And we've been impressed with Ewald every time we put the film on and watch him, because he's always around the ball. He's tough, runs well, and he's physical, gets off the blocks, and he's physical at the point of attack. So I'm sure they're going to put him in position to make plays for their defense.
Well, overall, what are you looking for from your team in this first game of the season, as well as moving forward after the season opener?
We always talk about, when the year ends, the next year, to kind of pick up where we left off, and that's the challenge. We able to come out here, and like you said, offensively, we did some really good things last year, and then to build on that, we have a lot of the pieces back, from that, and then emphasize the point emphasis that we did in the offseason, and implement them into the offense to give us more productivity and be consistent in all running and throwing the football, and then play kind of mistake free. Control, we can control, make smart decisions from that deal, because again, the first game, a lot of times it comes down to who makes the the fewest mistakes from there. And then defensively, we just talk about finish. Come out ready to play right off the get-go. We kind of let people score like on the first drive too many times last year. So we're obviously playing from behind, and we want to establish ourselves as a tough, hard-nosed defense. So we got to come out and start fast and then finish fast. So that's kind of we're looking for from there, and then be solid in the kick game. You know, win the hidden yardage, you know, in special teams on Thursday night to help our defense and help our offense be successful.
Well, Coach, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much, and good luck to you and the Monarchs on Thursday when you host Moravian College at 7 p.m. at McCarthy Stadium.
All right, thanks for having me.